even though fasting can be strengthening you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it can also be something that really takes a toll on your body. So obviously you're not eating as much as you usually do, and so you're probably thinking that, oh, you'll just be hungry or something. But it can also affect you in other ways. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Candace. I'm so glad that you're here. If this is your first time, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell button so you don't miss any more of these awesome videos. If you are returning, I'm so glad that you're here. Be sure to like and comment so we can keep the conversation going around blood sugar and fasting and all of these things that we're going to be talking about today. And if this isn't exactly what you were looking for, no worries at all. Just exit out the browser that you entered, please and thank you. So as you probably already know, this video is about blood sugar during fasting and dieting. So a lot of people, particularly in the Christian community, will fast at the beginning of the year. I'm not sure if this is anything that goes like by denomination or whatever, but you may have heard it referred to as the Daniel fast. And that's basically just believers replicating the fast that the prophet Daniel went on in the book of Daniel. So for a period of 3 weeks, he only ate basically fruits and vegetables and drank water. There was no meat, no wine, no dairy. So basically that's a way to reset yourself spiritually, mentally, and even physically, just to kind of, strengthen really your inner person, but your outer person as well. So a lot of people during this period of the year and throughout the year are fasting for religious purposes, and then there's a lot of people who fast for physical purposes to help them lose weight. You might hear of people doing intermittent fasting, or maybe they're just on really, really strict diets. Obviously, you can fast however you would like. So for some people, that just means kind of going vegetarian for the month. It might mean doing a vegan diet. And when I say the month, whatever period you might be fasting. Some people just get rid of all pleasant foods. So Daniel said that he ate no pleasant bread. So for a lot of people, that's usually like no junk food, no fast food, no desserts. Just anything that you typically like to indulge in. So some people are still cooking meals at this time, but maybe they cut down on seasonings or they're just cutting down on meat. I typically will do, no meats, no junk food, no fast food. I try to keep everything, even when I'm cooking it, very simple so that it isn't like this pleasant thing. I just wanted to kind of get that out there for anyone who may not be used to this whole idea. That being said, even though fasting can be strengthening you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it can also be something that really takes a toll on your body. So obviously you're not eating as much as you usually do, and so you're probably thinking that, oh, you'll just be hungry or something. But it can also affect you in other ways. Now, I do want to make a general disclaimer that I am by no means a physician. I have not studied this in any way outside of my own research and talking to my own doctor and doing things to help myself in this situation. But I learned that anytime you're fasting or doing a really, really strict diet of this kind, your blood sugar can be affected. Now, growing up as a kid, my family pretty much fasted my whole life that I can think of. And obviously I didn't fast in terms of food when I was younger. My parents made sure that I always had my nutrition. It just meant that I couldn't have like candy or ice cream, but I ate normal food. But as I got older, like got into my teens, and I started to fast a little bit more as like adults would, and really cutting down on my food, I would notice that sometimes, like if I got up really early in the morning to study, or if we had like a really early morning prayer time, I would like get up out of the bed and I would usually feel really lightheaded. I would get nauseated. I have vomited at times, or just generally feeling weak. Sometimes I've even gotten kind of like irritable. It's just a lot of different things that happen. There can be moments when my hands get a little shaky, and they always happen while I'm fasting. And for a while, I never thought much of it, except that maybe my body, for some reason, being younger or smaller, maybe I was just getting weaker than everybody else was during the fast. But then somehow I stumbled upon blood sugar, and I read the symptoms for low blood sugar, and I realized that's what's happening. So to understand why your blood sugar is dropping while you're fasting, you have to understand how your body relates to food. So every time we eat food, as you probably already know, we get energy, right? And a lot of times we kind of say that and we just say energy like it's just kind of some mystical thing. But that energy actually has a word, and that word is glucose, which is just a really fancy medical word for sugar. So every time you eat something, whether you eat a salad or a Big Mac, you are getting sugar. That sugar gives you energy. And that's what you use to move and do your work and go to school and all the amazing things that we do with our lives. The analogy that I like to use is your smartphone, right? So you plug your phone into the charger and it gets juice and energy until its battery is full, and you're able to go all day and watch videos and talk and text. And then as it starts to go down, sometimes it starts to move a little slower. You get all of these little warnings up to tell you, hey, things aren't going well, and you have to recharge again. And if you don't recharge, you're eventually going to go completely dead, right? Well, your body is exactly the same way. We eat food to fill up our battery and give ourselves as much energy as we possibly can so we can go throughout our day. And as the day goes by, we start to get drained, right? Our battery goes down and our body sends us warning signs that it's time to fill back up again. And that's usually when we eat another meal. But if we don't eat another meal and then we completely ignore all of those warning signs that our body is sending us, we could end up in big trouble. You could have seizures, you could go into a coma, and then, as with pretty much every medical condition in a worst case scenario, your body could literally go dead, lights out, and you're gone, right? So I know that sounds a little crazy, but literally, like, you could die without sugar. So tell that to the next person who tells you you can't eat a donut. But no, on a serious note, like, all jokes aside, that's literally it. So blood glucose is a sugar that you get from food that gets into your bloodstream, and that's what gives you the energy to live. It's what helps your blood to circulate and your immune system to work and your brain to function properly and all of those things. If it starts to go down, then that is when you will turn pale. Some people start to sweat. You can have nausea or vomiting, dizziness, and lightheadedness. You can experience irritability, lack of concentration, lack of focus. If your blood sugar gets too low, you should not be driving, you should not be operating certain machinery, and if your blood glucose drops while you're sleeping, you'll typically get sleep disturbances. You'll probably wake up more often than not. You'll have nightmares or really weird dreams. So if you've ever experienced any of these things, if you've ever had a day where you've gone a long period or the whole day without food and you felt some of these symptoms, chances are your blood sugar was probably low. And when it gets to a dangerous level, that's what we call hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia just basically means that your blood sugar is too low. A lot of times if you start to look up anything related to blood sugar, you're obviously going to get information about diabetes, a condition where most people's body has a hard time regulating their blood sugar, and it gets too high, which is why they have to take insulin. Our bodies naturally produce insulin, but for those who are diabetic, they need a little assistance doing so. A good range for your blood sugar would be under 140 milligrams, especially if you've just eaten, and above 100 milligrams if it's been a few hours since you've eaten, like a fasting period. Once you get below 70 milligrams, regardless of whether you have symptoms or not, regardless of how you feel, you are hypoglycemic at that point. And individuals who are below 90 milligrams and are experiencing symptoms of hypoglycemia will also be considered hypoglycemic. If this happens and you're experiencing these symptoms, then it's really important, just as a diabetic who has had too much insulin would do, you have to consume something that is rich in sugar and that your bloodstream absorbs quickly so that you can get your blood sugar back up. That's usually like fruit juice. You could take glucose cubes. You could take a tablespoon of honey. You could put a tablespoon of sugar in a glass of water, or just eat the sugar itself. And there's other foods and things that you can use, and I'll put them in the description box below. The reason why this is so important when you're fasting is that if you are using a strict diet or you're eating the way I described at the beginning of the video, chances are that you're not going to be consuming much sugar. And most of the foods that you're eating are probably very low on the glycemic index. The glycemic index is awesome. It basically just takes all kinds of foods that you could ever think about, and it gives them a number to show you if they are low or high, meaning do they give you a lot of glucose or low glucose. You would get more glucose from a bowl of Apple Jacks than you would from a cup of romaine lettuce, for example, right? So if you are fasting and you're only eating, let's say, like potatoes and salads and like vegetable soups and oats, guess what? You're eating, and you might not even be that hungry if you're eating good portions, but your body's not getting glucose. So chances are your blood glucose is going to drop because you're not eating sugary things. So it's really important that you're mindful of this so you can ensure that you're eating the proper amounts of certain foods from the glycemic index, even though you're not eating, cakes or sugary cereals or chocolate, things that, would be really easy to keep your blood sugar up. So for me, what I do is I always make sure that I have fruits, apples, bananas, grapes. Those are all really good natural sources of sugar. I was going to only drink water for my 3-week period, but I've realized that I do need fruit juices. So I usually will rely on cranberry juice, orange juice, and like apple juice. You obviously typically won't have candy on a diet, but you can use certain mints or Starbursts, things like that you can suck on and get glucose from there as well. Things like crackers, whole grain rices or pastas, as well as peanut butter are all really good, or any kind of nut butter. So obviously, if you're trying to get away from certain things that you're indulging on a lot, if you indulge in peanut butter a lot, maybe you'll want to use like almond butter or something. But you want to make sure that you're instituting this. So like as a snack, I'll usually eat apple slices with a little bit of peanut butter. I make sure that I have a little bit of fruit with every meal, even though I'm just eating oats and I'm not putting butter and sugar in it. I'll make sure that I put a drizzle of honey and strawberries. I feel much stronger. I don't have those symptoms. I don't feel nauseous or lightheaded. Now, last but not least, the only way that you're going to know and be able to confirm if you're a hypoglycemic is to actually check your blood sugar. I got this kit from Walgreens. They actually have sales on them a lot. Everything that you need is in this pack. So this is the quick start guide for instructions. These are the lancets. In here are test strips. This is the actual monitor. I'm going to take this out, and this is the lancet. So what you do is and I can actually show you because I think I have one in here right now. So the lancets you stick inside of this. It's really simple. It's got a really teeny tiny pin. It looks like, if you've ever sewed, it looks just like the end of a pen. It's very small. So you put it in here, and then there's 5 levels. So you can adjust these levels based on how soft or hard your skin is. So 1 being like the softest, thinnest skin, and 5 being like if you had thick or calloused skin. And then you take the little test strips that are in this bottle, and you stick them into the bottom of here. When you stick a test strip inside, the machine actually comes on. I'm going to show you. So this is showing me, this was my average blood glucose I had the last 7 days, which was 73. I was checking it just kind of like whenever I was feeling weaker in the morning. So that shows you, I've been in a hypoglycemic range in the beginning of my fasting area. So you put the test strip in, this will come on, and it'll give you like a little dial that says it's ready. And so all you have to do is you just pull this so that you can hear it. You would put this on the side of your finger, whichever finger that you use. If you're testing it a lot, you want to use different fingers. You hit that, and so that gives you just like a little prick. It's a really tiny prick, like no blood will even come out. You'll have to kind of like just hold your hand down and work it through, and when you get a nice little dot of blood, you'll tap it into the test strip and it'll give you your results in seconds. I promise it's not scary at all. You can get someone to help you as well if you're a little nervous about it. And that's all you have to do to ensure that you are maintaining healthy blood glucose levels. So I hope this video helped you guys a lot. I also know that dieting and intermittent fasting is also important to a lot of us who like to take care of our health or maybe regulate our weight. And it's absolutely okay for you to do these things and be healthy at the same time. You just have to understand your body and take the right precautions. So if you've experienced hypoglycemia before, or you're curious about it and you have more questions, please let me know in the comments. I absolutely love to talk about this. I have a really great and more in-depth discussion about this on my blog as well. And I'm going to post that in the description box in case you just want to read about it. And I'll give you links to the glycemic index and a lot of other medical resources. So until next time, I love you guys. Be safe out there. Make sure you're getting your sugar, and I'll see you next time.